can search by
so
article.
What are the
author,
top three that I'm going to dive into where I can feel confident that I'm getting the real story?
Yeah, so I'll say a couple things. One is you can search. We also want to become the search platform for media, right? So you can search by article, author, outlet, but you can also search the filter by rating. So here's the topic I want. Boom, we'll show you the top rated article on that topic. So same thing with the authors and outlets. But as far as which are the most credible sources, I'll give you mine, but we also have our leaderboard, which is like one of the most prominent things on our website.
Yeah, there's a guy, the top guy's got 100.
Yeah, that just means that nobody has reviewed any of his articles negatively yet, which means nobody found anything wrong with any of his articles yet. And, he won't keep that score forever, but it's the same thing as a movie. A movie will have 100% score, and then eventually maybe it'll get to 99. And, you can never get 100 back because that means you're perfect. But anything hovering at 99 is still, doing really well. So we have that author and outlet leaderboard as a way to celebrate the highest rated authors and outlets on our site. If I were going to give you a few sources, I would say the two, I know they're in the top three, but the two that I like the most right now are nationalgeographic.com and ProPublica.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, so ProPublica tends to cover media and politics and kind of power structures. And then National Geographic is everything from scientific breakthroughs to, species and animal kingdom and all that stuff.
Interesting. So really quick, as you were just saying something, I realized like somebody doing a review, is there some sort of fact-checking process that has to be, like I could go on and I could review a guy and say, well, I don't think this is credible. I have no real reason. Back to the whole Yelp conversation, right? I'm just being a jerk because I didn't like the story for whatever reason. Is there a process I have to go through to like prove why it's not like?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So first off, you're never actually directly reviewing the author and outlet. Because that could be abused, right? Because if you already know you don't like somebody, then that's a way to abuse the system. So what we've set up is a way where you are only ever reviewing the one article at a time. And when you review that article, you were worried a little earlier, like, am I going to know how to leave a quality review? Well, that's also what our review process was set up to do, is actually hold your hand and walk you through, like, this is how you should be thinking about whether or not the article was credible. Here, okay, did overall level of trust? Okay, did you find something wrong with it? Okay, if you did, was it one of these specific reasons? So we kind of walk you through the process, and that's actually a way of teaching people media literacy as well. So after you leave that review, though, this is where the reviewers themselves are held accountable, because once you leave a review on the site, anybody else that comes across that page and sees your review can vote on it as helpful or not helpful. And so what you see is these reviewer ratings, and those are visible next to everybody's reviews. So, excuse me. So you would see, for example, if you're looking at my review, I have a 90% reviewer rating and something like 800 reviews on the site. So you can look at my review and think, okay, this is a pretty, good actor, good participant in the system. 9 out of 10 times that somebody votes on his reviews, they're saying they're helpful, and this is across so many reviews, so very big data set and sample size. So the same thing is there for the reviewers themselves. The accountability is throughout.
Right. Oh, so good. All right. I'm super stoked about this. I'm gonna be smart this year. Start reading the news and reviewing it.
Yeah, please do.
Have you gotten to that point? You said you went through basically 2 rounds of funding, right? You got a bridge funding and
we're
funding.
In the middle of our second round right now, but we've closed more than we thought we were on the second round already.
Have you gotten to where you don't have to have a full-time job outside of
Credder
now?
Yeah. When we raised that first round, that's when we began paying our team salary, enough to survive and pay rent, but nothing where we're like saving money or anything. But yeah, enough to enough to step away from the other jobs that were kind of funding us until then.
Have you noticed an exponential difference in the way that you can grow since you've been able to actually spend more time on it?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's the difference between working a full-time job and using this as our side hustle to now this being our full-time job. And then also you can't take for granted the mental space that gets cleared up when you don't have to juggle the two.
No
and
kidding.
You can like really just hone in on one. It's huge difference.
Huge difference. Do you still go to the restaurant?
Of course.
I don't know why. I don't go there very often. I think it's because I don't eat at normal hours. So I'm not there at lunchtime. I'm not there at dinner time. And it's always like, I'll Google Risibisi. I'm like, oh, they're closed right now.
Sorry.
How long has
we
that
have
restaurant
DoorDash
been there?
and Uber Eats, if that helps. The restaurant, we opened that 13 years ago.
It feels like such so ingrained into this town that I would have just assumed it's been there for like 40 years.
Yeah. I mean, it helps that we got here while it was still a ghost town, and then we're, part of, or we're already kind of set up here and known when the city just started the population boom happened.
It's a beautiful restaurant. It really is. I mean, you guys have done a great job. Your father is adorbs.
Yeah.
How long until he retires?
I think he calls himself semi-retired, which means that he'll go in on like a Friday or Saturday night for 2 hours each night just to kind of greet some of the regulars at the door so they keep seeing his face and know that he's still, behind the scenes.
Totally. Are there regulars that literally show up the same day and time every week?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Really? I mean, it strikes me as that type of restaurant. It's so classic.
Yeah, we have...
Are they over 70?
No, they're over 40 though.
Yeah.
The regulars tend to be a little older. I think part of why Risibisi has so many regulars is, one, we have just a huge diverse menu, so you could spend like a couple years there and not get sick of anything.
Yeah.
And then the other is that, as you know, we just have such a friendly staff there that those regulars, what they're really coming in for, yes, they love the food and the wine and the cocktails, but what they really like is the interaction with our staff and, that they know them and greet them and make them feel at home.
Oh, for sure. It makes the experience completely different to walk in and feel like you're a part of the family. I mean, even I've only known you for a couple of years and I'm like, they know me here.
Yeah, you get hugs. Really you get hugs when you walk in. I get hugs,
yeah. When I walk in and get hugs at a place, which I think happens in only one other restaurant in town, I feel good. Yeah. I feel good. So I do send everybody over there. We're getting ready to do, like I mentioned earlier, a big event here at Keller Street. And I was thinking it'll be like a breakfast, lunch, dinner type of event. And I was like, I want to be smart and really support the restaurants. And there's so many restaurants in town, right? But I have a couple of favorites, and I will say Risibisi is one of them. Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Lately, we've been joking. So we're called Risibisi, for those of you that aren't you, Danielle. And we've been joking that the name is now really busy. So because we're a small restaurant and we have so many regulars that it really doesn't leave that much room for your people who are trying to try it out for the first time. So we're so busy these days that we call it really busy. Are you going to really busy?
I don't know. I only go and sit at the bar. But even then, sometimes, in fact, just recently, somebody was in town, and there's this weird, maybe you can speak to this, weird time in Petaluma. And so I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only single person in Petaluma, which I'm sure is not the truth, but I want to go to a place where I feel engaged and having conversation, not a pickup joint, that's not what I'm talking about, but a place where I feel I can have conversations with people and it's just social and fun. I had somebody with me, I don't remember who it was, and I'm like, we'll go have a cocktail at Risibisi, because I was like, there's only a couple of places where you can have a good cocktail, like one that's well made and by somebody who knows what the hell they're doing. And I walked in, it was the first time I'm like, oh my God, even the bar is full. Like I just picked an hour, but I don't know if you can speak to this. It feels like there's a time for people who don't, who are single, I guess, who can go for dinner and then they want to stay out, but there's this weird dead hour between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m., which if you've already eaten, there's not much to do, because 10 p.m. seems to be when like nightlife will happen, which around here, one could argue that the nightlife isn't conducive to I don't know.
I'm a fan. But,
I would love to know your input on that part too. But like, what do people do between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. when they sit at Risibisi bar and have a good cocktail? Or
I mean, hopefully they don't just sit around for 2 hours because we got to turn tables. But no, I'm not sure. I guess there's some things you can do. Like you can walk around and go to the billiards place next door. I think a lot of the shops are kind of closed by then, so you can't really like go into the shops. I don't know.
It just feels like you're wandering around like, where do I go next? And there are rare occasions in which I'm okay to go dive bar bombing, which is like that's easy to do. You just go from one dive bar to the next. But by then you're just a wasted case, and it's not super fun. But sometimes I feel like I want to go, but I just had dinner and I'm like everything's dead.
Yeah.
So go back to the nightlife. What is your favorite nightlife in town?
I've
never seen you out late at night.
Well, I go to the Hideaway. That's my spot. When I get dragged out with friends, we'll usually go to the Roaring Donkey, but then I'll either slip out on my own or convince them to go to the Hideaway. And that's purely based on music and dance floor. Because when I go out, I think
like to dance.
Oh yeah.
Oh, me too. That's why I suffer. Because here's what happened. One time I went with actually a member here, and it was like the best, worst dive bar tour is what it was. So I've lived here 7 years, and I literally just this last 2 years is when I've decided to come out from under my rock. So we started at Gale's because we were walking that way and there was some live music, and that I was like, I feel like I've just walked into the Twilight Zone right here. There's too much light for like the crowd and the music. But anyway, the shorter story is that we went to all of those places, and for different reasons, I enjoyed each one of them. And, but the Hideaway was my favorite.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I feel like there's slightly a bigger cross section of demographic here, which I love. Like I want to see all ages, all races, all types of people when I go out. I just love that. And it was like I was interested in getting on the dance floor and dancing. And so that was super fun.
That's the spot.
It's the only time I've ever been. I should go back more often.
It's the only place.
Mostly because I don't have anybody to go out with.
Well, here we go.
All right, we're going to do
Hideaway.
that.
I don't go out much, but yeah, when I do, I go to the Hideaway.
Okay. All right, next time text me when you go.
This message has been approved by Chase Palmieri.
Chase, thank you so much for coming. I'm so happy to have had you here. There have been a few occasions over the last year where I thought, I really want to have Chase on, but I don't know if I'm smart enough.
We kept talking about it, and I think the timing just wasn't right.
Yeah.
But this time when you
busy.
asked, I've been very busy, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, you asked again this time, and I was like, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
You were where were you? Because you were out of the country when we talked.
Well, I just went to Italy to visit family for a couple weeks.
Okay. What part of Italy is your family?
Trieste, or as the Americans would call it, Trieste. Yeah.
No. I've been to Italy 8 times, I think. I worked with an Italian company for a while, back in my previous lifetime when I was in car racing. And every year I would go out there with clients and we would go to a different region. So I've seen nearly every important part of Italy. I will say my favorite place, which is actually where our factory was, which is in Parma, and that area was quite nice for me. Yeah. I like the small town type of feel. But yeah,
that's where
I miss Italy.
That's where my dad's probably going to retire to soon, and I'll probably be not close behind him because I'm an ambitious guy. I got a lot I want to do around here, but that's probably where I'll retire to someday. Is back
maybe you can be
Trieste.
like at least have a place there where you're spending a few months.
We have a little family house there. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, let me know when you're going because maybe I'll hide in your suitcase.
Yeah.
I do miss Italy. I will say, until I went to Spain, Italy was the place that I thought was going to be my forever place. I'm not sure if I like it as much as Spain.
That's okay. You can always bounce back and forth because once you're in Europe, $50 trip. Yeah.
Totally. Well, thank you so much for coming. I wish you the best of luck with Credder, and I will be shouting it from the rooftops.
Thank you.
And I hope to see you at the Hideaway soon.
Yeah, and this was fun. So for anybody else out there thinking about doing the show, this is an amazing studio.
Oh, thank you. I know we haven't even talked about the studio much.
I'm jealous. I want to come do more shows with you here, maybe some of my own.
Yes.
So this is a great space that you built here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're so kind. Thank you. All right. Until next time.